Yeah, right? He's like, you should try. He always tries to give me his little gummies. I'm like, try some.
All right, we're going live, ladies.
Okay, we all sit up.
Welcome to the Sedona Soul Sisters Show, down-to-earth discussions on metaphysics, paranormal, and spiritual topics.
And the Sedona Soul Sisters are myself, Rosalind Reynolds, my business partner, Ivory Lanou, and our sweet mate, Terry Ann Russell. And we have offices here in Sedona where we see clients from all over the world.
And and today's topic will be the spiritual cleansing process. And if you have comments, you can leave them in the chat box, which is on the right side of the screen. So if you don't have a comment, you can also just say, hey, I'm here, and say hello.
That's always nice.
Our engineer will let us know you asked a question. We'll answer it live on the show. No problem. Oh my gosh. The reason we're doing this topic is because it's something that comes up so frequently. It's not like somebody comes in and goes, how do I do a spiritual cleansing? It's more that they come in and they're not sure what they need, and they start presenting what their problems are. And it's very evident that they're either in need of spiritual cleansing or they're going through the spiritual cleansing process that's part of the spiritual journey. But either way, it comes up a lot.
Yes.
And considering how much is going on right now with, everyone's abilities are in ascension mode. A lot of people don't know that. They can't figure out exactly what's going on, but they know something's happening with them. And the process of, especially for highly empathic people, is pretty, it can be pretty draining, and it can be pretty scary if you're thinking, hey, what is all this information I'm getting? What's happening?
Right. We're usually always in a state of releasing, right? So all that stuff's coming to the surface now. And again, they're like, come in. I don't know how many people say to me, you're going to think I'm crazy, but.
Yes. Yes.
I know someone who said that.
I know someone. I felt that way when I went through my spiritual awakening back in the 84. That was just way too much too fast. And I actually went and saw a mental health professional and said, I think I'm going crazy. She's like, no, you're having a spiritual awakening. You're blah, 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 blah. She told me about, you're seeing astral beings. And
thank goodness, at least she was aware.
Yeah. And later I worked for that mental health business, and I know there were no counselors there like that at that time. So that was just like she was there when I needed her, and then she was gone.
What a blessing.
Yeah.
So that's why we're here, to help you.
And I think a part of this process is always, just coming to the awareness, realizing where you are, and then developing or learning procedures to help yourself and to rebalance yourself and, to clear and cleanse. So I know we all work with people who need those steps, those stepping stones, those tools. And so we thought maybe you guys would like to get a little info on that too today.
I think anybody who's been on a journey for a while, and certainly people who are psychic mediums, spiritual teachers, they already have a practice in place that they do for themselves to stay clear, to stay balanced and centered, and it's different for everybody. So I know I'm going to give an example of this. Like, I didn't even realize how far I had been pulled as an empath into some planetary energy of late, and it really pulled me off center. I didn't even know it. My guides are like, violet flame invocations. They said it just like that. I'm like, oh, well, the book's right here. So I told Roz, I spent like 45 minutes that morning going through all of them 3 times, and then I felt like, oh, I'm fine. And it took care of it. Sometimes you just need a little thing to get you over the hump, but you have to have something that on a daily basis, whether it's meditation, whether it is invocations, whether it's prayer, something physical you're doing that works for you to clear your energy and keep you balanced. That's what it comes down to. Do you want to talk about
Yes.
what you do?
What I do a lot. I feel like I spend a lot of time focusing on that and clearing and cleansing, because as working with clients, a lot of times I try not to, but I do sometimes take on those energies.
Mm-hmm.
So really protecting myself in that type of environment, but also then knowing how to cleanse that from my environment. So an example would be when I work a lot with a lot of clients back to back to back, I will take a salt bath. That's something I love to do. Not only does it give me the ability to cleanse those energies from my body and my energy field and my auric field, but it gives me that ability then again to connect and meditate and center and all those things that really make me feel
I'm really glad you brought that up.
At the
What
core.
kind of salts do you use? Because people probably are
Mhm.
watching who don't know what you mean.
I use either magnesium flakes or an Epsom salt type of bath, and I also use essential oils and crystals, and I have my whole little
Your process.
arsenal of
Yeah.
helpers there. So yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
What about you?
I think the important thing for me, I'm really sensitive. I don't consider myself to be an intense empath, but I'm very sensitive to earth energies and fluctuations that are going on with the magnetic
Mhm.
field. I can always tell when we have a coronal mass eruption, when we have a sunspot that blows off magnetic field and solar wind and all that. It's really weird. It really knocks me off balance. And once I'm off balance with those things, then I really have a hard time getting back. So I pretty much every day have a process of prayer, affirmation, focusing. I try to ground a little bit if I can. I'm not necessarily always putting my feet on the earth, but I do use crystals quite a bit. I have a breath work process that I was guided to do. So I create kind of like a field, with my auric field, and I'm working on all those things simultaneously. And that's what really gets me back. And I also concentrate on creating what I call a white light bubble, or just an energy bubble around me to give me protection and to keep me in balance. Because when I was younger, I could just go off, and really lose my ability to stay on task, to stay. I have a lot of clients who tell me, well, I have ADHD diagnosis or ADD. Well, I totally get that, except it carries itself over into a spiritual place. And so I think for me, everything that I've kind of synthesized works for me. I've tried to teach that to other people. Some people it works for them.
Yes.
Some people it doesn't.
Everybody's so
And that's how you
different.
know you got to try some different things. And I do the same thing. They'll say, well, what do you do? And I'm, well, here's what I do. But
Right.
some of these will work for you, some may not. I know the first thing that I do in the morning is I have a practice of gratitude. And I say out loud, what I'm thankful for, the first few things that just come into my mind, what I'm really grateful for at that moment. Because I know and I can feel it, that just raises my frequency and puts me in this really positive frame of mind. And then it's calling in the 4 archangels, because my work involves, the core of my work is angels. So calling in the 4 archangels, and then I do my empath protection. I go through this little series of movements and vocalizations that just shut down my upper chakras so that I'm only feeling my own feelings. What a luxury. If I'm showering, I do this protective mantra in the shower that's just washing away all negativity from within and without. And then it's the violet flame invocation. So I don't usually go through the whole bunch of them. I don't do 45 minutes in the morning of that usually, but maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes of that, of some basic ones just to call in more angelic protection, raise frequency higher. So that's what I do to start my day. And if I don't do any of that, I may not be conscious that I forgot it, but I'll sure realize I feel different, not good.
Yeah. What a difference it makes.
Yeah, that's important,
Yeah.
I think, to, bring that out in this discussion. Because if I get knocked off my normal routine,
Right.
and I skip a part of my protections and my clearing and balancing and everything, my day doesn't go well. So I have to come here. I do it anyway when I come here, but I really have to get myself back.
Yeah.
To the basic.
And that's what I think is important for the people to know out there is that you have to really feel into your body. How do you feel off today? And the more you learn about the physical aspects of it too, how you're going to feel, the more you can bring those things in then to help you. Like, why am I so cloudy today? I can't focus today. Where's my head? And everybody's like, oh, what do you do to fix that? And so talking about it brings awareness to it. And then everybody, oh, I have that, or I have that. And sometimes it can be physical, but sometimes it can be emotional or mental or spiritual. So it's really figuring out all of that and tying it in all together.
If you are watching the news, I don't want to jump subjects here, but if you're watching the news and you're an empath of any kind of empath, whether you're an intense empath or not, chances are you're going to start to feel worse. You're going to start to feel bad, and you're going to feel stressed and anxious, and your solar plexus might hurt, and you might feel queasy and suddenly depressed or anxious. And it's tapping into that kind of the fear vibe going around the planet right now. So that's another reason that everybody really does need to do this type of work. Figure out what works for you, experiment around and find what works for you. But sometimes it is about avoiding doing things.
I think television overall, being very selective, not just about news, but about what else you choose to have on. If you have a lot of violence on, if you have a lot of, I notice noise tremendously. Really bothers me. I don't have television anymore, but when I did, if I had it on, and let's say when my kids were younger, they were watching sports, and they would have the volume so loud, I just had to go out of there. I just could not handle that loud volume. So it's about your five senses feeling calmness, but it's about your sixth sense getting balanced too. So it's
And I
really
say, if it
important.
throws you off, don't do it. Like my husband always says, but it's fake. It doesn't matter. And I'm like, I understand that it's fake. Like a
TV
violent
show or
movie or
something.
a loud, or sports even, when they're so dramatic, or wrestling.
Mhm.
It's fake. And I'm like, I understand that it's fake. I'm fairly intelligent. But the feelings that you get off of it, or like you
Yes,
said, the
it won't matter.
loudness of
Yeah.
it, right? It's just like, I can't be around that.
And I want to just reiterate, it's not just TV, it's also movies, it's books, it's anything that you read that has what we would consider dark content. So if it's violent or scary, something like that brings up those negative emotions, it is affecting your vibrational field. And I will say for myself, like my daughter and I were talking about this yesterday, how when she was little and for a couple decades beyond that, I loved horror movies. We would always go see the latest horror movie. We'd watch them on Halloween, and it wasn't, maybe I'd say 15 years ago that I realized I can't watch this stuff at all. If anything starts to go down that route on something I'm watching, I feel like I'm going to get sick. I feel awful. I'm like, I'm panicky. I'm like trying to find the control, like, get off my TV, or a movie.
Yeah.
I've had to get up and leave because it just takes a turn that you don't expect. Like you go to a movie that you think is going to be this inspirational movie, and then it takes a turn that may not work with your frequency anymore. So we change as we raise our frequency.
I think the frequency point is really it's physics, kind of. I mean, Tesla talked about it. A lot of the physics masters have talked about this. But the reality is, if you're keeping your focus on higher intention, higher vibration, goodness, it sounds, very woo woo, but it is actually quite true that you're going to lift your consciousness. We're mind, body, spirit beings. So wherever our consciousness goes,
Yes.
our whole physiological presence follows. And I find myself, I've found it pretty interesting that a lot of the highly intuitive people I know love horror movies when they're young.
Mm-hmm.
But as they get older, they do move away from those things.
I never thought I would. I never saw that coming, but I did. Oh my goodness.
And I also think one thing that really, I mentioned this, but one thing that really has helped me in the last decade especially is developing a breathwork pattern that I work with. Because for me, breathing brings me to a point of calmness. And this is medical science. Because our body responds to the intake of oxygen, of course. If we're doing very deep breathing, I mean, we as a group, humans, I mean, we, for the most part, we're sort of shallow breathing, in our lungs. If you're breathing with, I always like to think that I'm breathing with my entire being, my entire body. I'm taking the air in, I'm blowing it out. And when I'm blowing it out, I'm releasing and I am cleansing at that point.
Yeah.
So if you can, find a practice that works for you or develop one, it's pretty amazing the effect it has.
I want to talk about that breath work thing, like even some very simple thing. It just made me think about my early years working in the mental health field. I first worked at a psychiatric hospital. I decided to jump in the deep water right from the start. So one of the things that they taught me was when somebody's very escalated, that you can do this breath work technique where you have them take a breath in and hold it a couple of seconds through their nose, and then they let it out in a long, slow hiss. You do 10 of those, and usually by 7, even the most escalated person, upset person, has calmed down. So I can't tell you how many times I've used it for myself when I'm in a stressful situation or I come across a person in crisis. I used to do crisis counseling kind of things, like on site for emergencies. I would use it for that. I use it for clients here. So that's just a simple thing you can start with, and you'll feel yourself just like all this weight goes off of you and you just de-stress immediately. You can't help it. Your body makes you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they say it's not going to work, yes, it does.
Well, that's, I mean, it truly is medical science, because there is a nerve that runs all the way through your body.
Absolutely.
I think it's called the vagus.
The vagus. Mm-hmm.
And that nerve controls a lot of our responses and our reactions. So if you can do the breathing process, relax your entire system, starting with that nerve, and then let it spread. Yeah, by the time you've taken 10 or 12 breaths, you have really come down quite a few notches from that.
And that's why people that hyperventilate, they breathe in a bag, right? You tell us, give them the bag and breathe in the bag, and it works, right? It works. If you've ever been on a plane and been like white knuckling it and you're in the bag, it works. But for me, I like to visualize my heart and my heart actually doing the breathing. So I visualize my heart breathing in and out and up and down. And I continue to say that to me. It's very relaxing, calming, like you said. Almost puts you into that light trance state.
We talked about things to avoid. I want to talk about, just came to my mind, things that you should try or would be good for you to try. I don't like to say should, but things like making music of any kind. If you play a musical instrument, play it. If you sing, sing. If you like to play records, or that dates me, but I do like records. Play music in any form you want. if you like to dance, if you like try painting, getting out in nature, all of these things that just instantly transport you to a higher frequency will help you clear some of the negative energy too.
Mm-hmm.
So it just helps balance again. And you might want to make a list of the things you've already tried in life that you know make you feel better. I love swimming. That's one that always occurs to me if I have a chance to go swimming. But it's different for everybody. And then if you start to feel out of sorts and you're not sure what it is, it's probably your frequency. Do one or two of those things and try some new ones. But it can be fun to experiment with this and see what works for you.
I think your point about getting out in nature is very well taken, because, you know, we live these hectic lives. We're commuting, we're at our desk at work. If we're, you know, raising our kids, that's added on top of whatever else we have going. Just keeping up with the daily demand of life is pretty stressful. So trying to make time is difficult, but if you can, it really does help you to experience the frequencies of forest, trees, etc. And I grew up, you know, by the ocean, so to me, going down to the beach always comes to mind, where you're breathing in the negative ions from the surf coming up, your feet are on the sand, so you're getting complete and total grounding and earthing going on with the sand. Negative ions, the earth is like the biggest repository of negative ions anywhere. And your feet, if you know, like reflexology or anything related to the exchange that goes on between the skin and your feet and the rest of your body. So there are things, so many things that we have at our disposal to really use.
If you think about that or have any doubt about how connected the bottom of your feet are to the rest of your body, I'm going to give you a little experiment to try after the show. You're welcome to try it right now if you want to. Get a few drops of peppermint oil and put it on the bottom of one of your feet and wait 15 seconds. You'll taste it. You will taste it in that period of time. It'll be on your breath. So is it any wonder that getting grounded through your feet or grounding, or what I like to call watering, where you hover your feet in a natural body of water, suspended in water, all of that's so good for you. Or detox foot baths. That's another way. And, you know, our bearded soul sister, Ed, is the one who does that for us here. So those have been really good. We need to get back to doing those. That's a good reminder for us. We get so busy and we forget something right here in our own business. But those are pretty amazing, and that's releasing it right out of the bottom of your feet.
Talk about
you can
a cleanse.
see it. You can see it come out of the bottom of your feet. It's
I have
amazing.
to try that. I haven't experienced.
I had
that
never
yet.
either until Ed got his machine and said, "I want to prove it to you, ladies, and how much this works." And I'm a total believer, as he knows.
It's quite amazing, and it really affects your whole body physiologically too. As you go through that process, it's an hour long, and once you have completed that, you feel completely different. You have released, like in my case, I seem to have a lot of heavy metals. So, I mean, you're releasing a lot of things, toxins and things that are stored inside. And all of these practices are for you to determine what works for you.
Yes.
I mean, we know the things that work for us. We know the things we suggest to clients. Terry Ann does a tremendous amount of healing work and helps people release so that they can heal, because your body wants to heal itself.
It does.
But it needs you to assist.
And that's true. Like even the spiritual protection, if you're talking about protecting yourself, first you got to clear yourself. So are all of your points, your meridian points in your body, are they open? Are they flowing? So energy goes out through your body. You know, do you have blockages anywhere? I think when you have blockages, that's when I'm talking as a person who does medical qigong energy healing. I can tell when somebody's had a blockage for a long time by the think about.
Yeah.
We're projects, aren't we? We humans. We are ongoing,
We are.
never-ending projects.
And even, bedtime is another time because I know I astral travel a lot. So offering I need protection, I always put that grounding cord to earth so that you taught me that, so that I can stay connected to my body here while I'm traveling and call in Archangel Michael for protection. Always, especially at night when you're dreaming and you're in that state and you're very open. That's very important too. So if you do dream a lot, you can call on Archangel Michael. Say a little prayer, set your intentions before you sleep.
Well, you want to have a morning ritual and a little nighttime ritual. Mine's pretty fast, but I do another short gratitude session. Just I'm so grateful for XYZ. And then I wait to see which of the angels are coming in and my guides, and I talk to them. And then I see if any, I guess we'll say, beings from other dimensions are coming in and what they want and what they're looking like and what they're doing. And then I go to sleep finally. So all of that before I go to bed.
I have to have a pretty speedy routine at bedtime because
When she goes, she goes.
Yeah.
Thank you, God. I always do say, one thing I say is like, angels surround me, angels protect me, and those I love and care about, because I just want to be sure. I've had a lot of dark energy attacks when I'm sleeping, and I'm not having that problem right now, but I just want to be sure I keep that extra angelic protection around me while I'm vulnerable.
Well, and I think that's another good point to make. Some people really feel like, somehow they are deserving to be having these negative experiences, these dark energy attacks. Lifting your frequency, raising yourself up, and realizing that, hey, we're all a work in progress here. We're all working on the cleansing, the growth, the learning, and being a being of light, being a light worker, trying to help people. Sometimes we deal with things that are pretty surprising in terms of what other people have encountered. It's really good to have this focus on your daily practice because we're encountering all kinds of things all the time.
Yeah. Maybe we should have a show about that sometime.
That could be interesting, yes.
Or what brings down your vibe. Like the people, they say the 5 people you're around the most is the people that you're like the most. So if you're around a lot of negative people and they're bringing down your vibe, you can feel that. Like if you've ever, I worked in corporate for 20 years. So I can remember just leaving there so drained. I was like, oh my God, just exhausted.
The blood-sucking hole.
Yes, that's what it felt like, bloodsuckers.
And, it's funny because we laugh about it, but
because we're not in
when
it
when you're getting heavy, negative, just goes boom and hits you. And I mean, we can, love and surround and be trying to help, but